Hi all, welcome back to the Qkumba Zoo channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Al and I'm producer and musician with the band Qkumba Zoo. I'm excited to be announcing a new Qkumba Zoo release, but I wanted to put out a short little video because this is a song with a difference. It doesn't sound quite the same as our other Qkumba Zoo releases, and I want to explain why. We have mentioned in previous videos or discussions that Lavana and myself were members of a different band called Ocean Road. And this band we started before Qkumba Zoo. And the point of that is we recently uncovered 3 songs from that era that we will be sharing with you. Some are partly because it's archival, but mostly because we actually just really like those songs. In Ocean Road, we went through kind of 2 main phases, or 3. First phase was Lavana and myself playing together as an acoustic duo. And then we had joined forces with Dave on bass. It became like a threesome. Became a 3-member band with myself on guitar, Lavana singing, and Dave on bass. Dave Shortland, by the way, has his own band, and I'm gonna put a link to some of his music below as well. And then after that, then became like an Afro rock band where we had Desmond from Tanzania who was playing drums, and Benny from the DRC was playing bass with us. So anyway, cut a long story short, we did some recordings in our middle phase where we were playing with Dave, and we recently rediscovered some of these recordings, and yeah, we want to release them because we actually think they're pretty cool. I'll get into how we rediscovered these songs, but firstly I'm just going to give you a bit of background and history to how these songs came about and how we recorded them, just so you understand the context of how these songs came about. As I'm sure I mentioned before, Lavana and I met around about 1990. As we were students, I was studying at University of Durban, Lavana was studying up here in Joburg at Wits University. And after a rocky start, we actually became very, very good friends. And to this day, I would say she's my best friend. It became sort of apparent early on that we could perform and play music together. But originally because music had always been the thing that I was doing. Whereas for Lavana, it wasn't so much music on its own, but she was quite a playwright, a performer, actress, that kind of thing. So when we started playing together, we did most of my songs because I had been writing songs. But when I got over my original annoyance at the fact that she was a better singer than me, and that she was going to be the lead singer and I was going to kind of back her up as a singer and play guitar. Once I got over that little dent to my ego, I found that I had partnered with a really world-class singer and great songwriter and lyricist. So it actually turned out awesome because between her and I think we actually complement each other quite well in terms of songwriting and music creation. The reason why I'm telling you that is this first song we're releasing from these 3 songs we rediscovered is called Harbour Song. And Harbour Song is the first song that we co-wrote together. And I'm going to give you a bit of background as to how that came about. And because I had studied an honours in Durban University, I had some friends down there. So in about 1991, Lavana and I went down, we had become friends and we kind of started making music together. Went down to Durban for me to visit my friends and to kind of get into do like a bit of a recce with the music scene there, because in South Africa at the time there was pretty strong loyal following of folk acoustic music. And so with my friends who I went to go visit down in Durban, we also went and hung out at the Durban Folk Club and sort of just immersed ourselves in the music scene there a bit. So that's the context of me having my guitar, us spending a bit of time in Durban, and we started writing the song. Now, I think I came up with the guitar riff first, and you'll hear that riff very prominently throughout the song. And then Lavana joined and started writing the lyrics and getting the verse down. And then we worked on like the chorus and then the bridge. So together we kind of built the song up from my riff and her verses. And then when we went back to Joburg, then played the song to Dave, and then Dave put his really cool bass lines over that song. And that's how Harbour Song came to be. Harbour, obviously, because we were in Durban, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's like a seaport town. and we were doing a bit of relaxation and stuff. So we had kind of spent time on the beach there, not so much in the harbour because it's quite a commercial harbour, but the sea and the wind and everything was very much part of that experience. So yeah, we wrote that song, Harbour song, started that song in Durban in 1991, visiting my friends. Alright, so that's how the song came about, and we obviously performed the song wherever we could, folk clubs, some clubs that we were playing at, and also some stages that were sort of non-genre specific. And the reason why it's important is because the story about how these songs are discovered, I'll get into a bit later. But so we were performing the song where we could, and then at that time, both Levan and myself were quite dedicated to making it to having a career in music full-time and professionally. So obviously that means, you know, not only performing, but also recording, trying to go into radio, like get a record label, all that kind of stuff. So we knew that we needed to make some demos. We were staying at that period in a part of town called Yeovil, which was kind of like a alternative creative hub in Joburg at that time. It was like a wonderful place to be. And we met a guy called Willem Moller. Now Willem is a really great guitarist all on his own, and he was playing with a lot of the big alternative rock bands at the time. You know, for instance, just to give some context, like I'm sure some of you guys might have seen the documentary called Searching for Sugar Man about an artist called Rodriguez. Now, when Rodriguez was kind of rediscovered by two South African guys, and they went and found him and they told him just how famous he was back in South Africa, they obviously organized a tour, and on that first tour they organized some South Africans as a backing musicians for him. They would back him on stage. So Willem was his guitarist for that tour. So that's the kind of stature that Willem had. So he had a recording studio in his house, and in the basement was his recording studio. It wasn't like $1 million facility by any means, but he had a nice room, had a decent tape machine, some decent mics, that kind of thing. So we spent about a day and a half in his studio. I can't remember exactly, recording his 3 songs. And the way we'd do it is we'd be using overdubbing. So even though there was only 3 of us, there's quite a full sound to this Harbour song, because I laid down strumming acoustic guitars, then I put down the riff, and then Dave would put his bass, and I put some keyboards, Levan would sing, and then we'd do overdub vocals, backing vocals, that kind of thing. So it's quite a full sound to the song, but there was only 3 of us recording with Willem at the time. The other 2 songs that we will be releasing a bit later are not quite as full. They're more just almost straight acoustic guitar and singing. Hence why when you hear the song, it will hopefully sound a little bit orchestral. That's the right word. Anyway, fuller, because obviously all the overdubbings we do. And we record to tape, so you get that really nice warm sound. And then Willem did a mix of it. On this recording, you'll hear me playing acoustic guitar, the riff guitar, Dave on bass, and then Levan singing, and then Levan and myself doing the backing vocals. So that was the recording. Now that was in 1991. Now we took that recording and put onto that the tape, the TDK tape, took it onto record labels and radio, and there was some interest, but there wasn't, no one was really biting. Even though folk music had a strong underground following, the kind of pop scene would frown upon acoustic music, even at that time. So we didn't get anyone interested in signing us or wanting to play this. Actually, I lie, I think the song was played on radio in one of these kind of Sunday night, well, have a listen, tell us what you kind of think about the song slots. So eventually nothing really happened with the song, and we lost the recordings. And so for 20 years I've had these recordings in the back of my mind, and how I wish I could find them. Especially the song Harbour song, because I always just loved that song. And lo and behold, 2020, I get a Facebook message from a person called Mark Vass. Now, stepping a bit sideways, Mark was a singer for a band called Metamorphosis, who Metamorphosis was one of the premier metal bands playing in Joburg at the same time that we were playing as Ocean Road. And I mentioned earlier about sort of playing the same stage with different styles of music. And because in South Africa at the time there was a loyal following of, folk acoustic, and there's a loyal following of, metal, rock, what have you. Like the original scene had a loyal following, but it wasn't very big. So we'd often find ourselves crossing paths with bands and stuff from other styles and being on the same stage as them. So for instance, I remember being on stage at events where it was a metal event, but they would put us on in the afternoon, before the party got started. So we knew quite a few of the musicians and other styles of music at the time, and we didn't really know Mark well, but we knew of Metamorphosis, and we knew like who they were. And it was just very awesome. In 2020, Mark Facebooks me and says, "Hey, how are you doing? He's been archiving a lot of the South African music from that time, and hey, here's his recordings. Do you remember them?" And he sent me MP3s of these 3 songs, and it just blew my mind. It's because I've been trying to find these songs, or trying to remember where I put them, or how I get hold of them, and he out of the blue just sends me and say, "Hey, look, I've got them." So because he's been archiving a lot of South African music from that time, for some reason he got hold of a tape and a DAT of those recordings, which was pretty awesome. So I spoke to him a bit, and then he sent me digital copies of the DAT machine. And before I go there, I just want to actually mention, I'm going to just to thank Mark and for the effort he's put into South African music and kind of getting a hold of us. I'm going to put a link below to a YouTube video of Metamorphosis playing, and a website that explains them and talks a little about their history. So if you're into metal, which I assume some Qkumba Zoo fans are, go have a look, and please support Mark. I think he's done a really amazing job archiving these old South African songs, old South African bands and music and that. So anyway, big shout out to Mark. Thank you so much, dude, for getting hold of us, and thanks for sending us the song. So he sent us the digital copies, and then Keith, who's a sound engineer I work with a lot, who actually, by the way, Mark is now living in the UK, and Keith has spent time in the UK as a sound engineer, developing his engineering skills back in the 90s. So anyway, Keith and I did a master of it, and that's the song we're going to be releasing, Harbour song. Unfortunately, due to the way it was recorded, there's a bit of distortion in the recording. So if you hear it, it's like, okay, we know it's there, but we don't think it really interferes with the experience of listening to the song. So please don't expect a $1 million production sound out of these songs you're going to be releasing from Ocean Road time. But I just think I've always been purely self-indulgent and releasing because we love them, but I really think you guys might like them as well. And that's the reason why we're releasing the songs from Ocean Road. We're eventually going to be putting them into EP called the Ocean Road Tapes, but we're releasing one at a time. And this first song, a Harbour song, is literally one of the favorite songs I've ever written, and it was the first song that Levan and Iko wrote. And yeah, it's going to be released on 26 February 2021 on Spotify and other platforms. So if you're watching this video before then, please, as soon as go live, go have a listen. Hopefully enjoy it, love it, all that kind of thing. If you are watching this video after that date, then it'll obviously be live and you can go have a listen to it. And yeah, thanks for spending a bit of time with me and hearing me explain where the song comes from, why we're putting it out, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So thank you, have an awesome day. Cheers.
At the end of this day, pain is forgotten, fear gone away, too hard